Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for Monday, January 27th, 2025. If you would please stand as you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll of the members?
Leah Dozeman, Jenny Snell,
Present.
Dan Larson,
Present.
Amanda Weaver,
Here.
Janice Hoppy,
Present.
Corey Stites,
Here.
Scott Ohms,
Here.
Rachel Holteen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, are there any changes to be noted in the agenda? None noted. We will proceed with the agenda as presented. We have several proclamations this evening, so I'm going to go to the podium. And Councilor Hoppy, if you would join me. We're really excited to have a full house tonight with a lot of great folks in the high school and a lot of other visitors. So thank you all for coming tonight. We're really excited to welcome the students from the Wheat Ridge High School to celebrate and recognize their achievements in vocal music, instrumental music, and athletics for all county, all state, and all conference. I'd like to invite Athletic Director Jason Campbell to join us at the podium and tell us a little bit more about the students that are here with us and to introduce them to us. Jason, come on up.
I want to say thanks to the council members and Mr. Mayor for inviting us over again. We have a wonderful partnership between the school and the council, and it has started with Ms. Hoppy here, as she's been in the Wheat Ridge school community for many, many years. But that relationship continues to grow stronger and stronger because of opportunities like this to recognize our students and to get them to be part of our city government. In all of my social media posts, I start off with one city, one high school. That is nothing further from the truth because of situations like this. The school does not exist without the city, and the city is an integral part of the success of the school. So thank you for this amazing community with deep roots and longevity of success. With that being said, one of the things that brings me the most joy is seeing the success of not only our teams, but our individual students in a variety of manners. We've had a wonderful year so far, and the first semester did not disappoint in the number of students we'll be recognizing this evening in the performing arts and athletics. So with that being said, I'm going to start off with one of our newest athletic events to get recognized for that it's been going on for a while, but they just started doing all conference with it. So we have a unified bowling program, and that is, if you're not familiar with that, it's students with disabilities working in partnership with mentors, and they get the opportunity to participate in bowling events throughout the first semester and also into the state playoffs or tournament. We have about 4 individuals that are getting recognized for their efforts this evening for unified bowling. Our first one is Mr. Ryder Rosenau. I don't know if Ryder is here or not, but I saw his dad back there. So our second member is Mr. Brandon Peak. He is not here either. And then a couple of our mentors got recognized for all conference, Ben Bizarro and Casey Merker. So congratulations to our unified all conference athletes. Softball. We had a really good softball season this year. Fell just slightly short of making the playoffs, but we had a heck of a push towards the end. And it starts with the individuals that I'm going to recognize this evening. One is familiar with one of our council members, Miss Olivia Hoppy. Next is Miss Juliet Jackson. I'm not sure if she's here or not. Evelyn Detweiler. Scarlett Arenas. Ariana Polfi. Claire Tompkins. And Miss Haley Cross. Several of the members that on the softball team will be coming back again next year, and we're going to make those playoffs, and we're going to make a good run. So I'm really proud of these young ladies for all the work and dedication they put in. Moving on to football, we have Mr. Bennett Wilkes, Mr. Xavier Brown. I saw him come in with his family. Xavier, come on up. Mr. Xavion Edwards, I don't think he's here this evening. And Mr. Isaac McCune. Faith Induni, I don't know if he's here or not. Isaiah Garakowski. And Dylan Kilmeyer. We also have Mr. Devin Castillo, Mr. Ronnie Reynolds. There's Ronnie. And just so you know, I'm hoping to be able to recognize Ronnie again after a wrestling season. He's quite the wrestler as well. Max Kriegbaum Gaskill, Orlando Reyes, and Damian Powell. Those are some of the members of our football program. And we actually had the league MVP on our squad this year, Mr. Bennett Wilkes. Moving on to cross country. First and foremost, I would like to point out that our girls team actually also won the Paul Davis Award for sportsmanship amongst all the other schools in Jeffco. Parker Mellum, here? No. Miss Erin Harton, she's here. Like us, many of our athletes, Erin plays multiple sports, so you probably see up here at some point in volleyball, swimming. Is there anything you don't do? I think she probably does every sport at Wheat Ridge. We like that. She'll probably end up playing. Did you do soccer? No? You should. Why not? And then Natia Adams, is she here? And a couple of the male athletes for all conference for cross country are Mr. Adam Mueller and Mr. Leaf Dahl. We had quite the cross country. We had several members actually go on to qualify for state too, right, Aaron? For volleyball, we have Gretchen Lindner, Nora Tegader, Emma Collins, and Malia Weinman. For boys tennis, we had August Mendez and Mr. Rise Rosenow. The Rosenow family, they're taking all the awards. We got two of them up here. Congratulations, Rise. For boys soccer, we had Brian Kratzner, Benton Albright, Mr. Liam Christensen back there in the back, Braden Berggren, Jacob Timms. Jacob is also a wrestler, and hopefully we'll get to honor him like Ronnie once the winter sports season's over for an all-conference medal. And then lastly, Mr. Seth Hurdle. So these are our all-conference athletes. As you can tell, there was a lengthy list, but we're thankful to these individuals that came out tonight. So again, the Wheat Ridge all-conference athletes for many of the fall sports. I got. Moving on to our performing arts students, our all-county orchestra students. We're going to start with Miss Julia Cook. I'm not sure, is Julia here? Miss Kate Fergursky. Colton Hickler. And Mr. Gabe Tafoya. Our all-county band members are Mr. Ryan Anderson, Mr. Jacob Christensen, Mr. Makai Gerardi, Mr. Brevin Green, Mr. Ollie Hansen, Miss Linda Hay, Mr. Alexis Medina Guerrera. There's Alexis, thank you. And Mr. Tyler Rosenbeck. Our all-county choir members include Tessa Aragon, Samuel Coley, Jill Fergursky, Rain Fowler, Jonah Hill, Logan Mendez, Kai Nasueda, Riley Redford, Eleanor Smagala, Molly Weinstein, there she is, and not to be outdone, her brother Nathaniel Weinstein. Many of our performing arts students are also preparing right now for our musical, which comes at the first weekend of May. And so many of them are over there practicing and rehearsing. So these are our all-county orchestra, choir, and band students. We do have some all-state members with us this evening. We will start with some of our performing arts members that earned all-state honors. Mr. Ryan Anderson, Mr. Tyler Rosenbeck, Mr. Brevin Green, and Mr. Adam Peters. You can come on up, dude. Adam is, he can shred the guitar. I'm just going to say that. Our all-state orchestra included Aliyah Vaughn. Our all-state band members are Ryan Anderson. You're hearing a thing with Ryan. He was all-state in jazz band. Now he's all-state band. Makai Gerardi. Brevin Green. Alexis Medina Guerrera. Come on back up, buddy. Ollie Hansen. And Tyler Rosenbeck. Our all-state choir members include Samuel Cooley, Rain Fowler, and Nathaniel Weinstein. Come back up, buddy. We have a couple all-state athletes, Bennett Wilkes, Jacob Timms, Seth Hurdle, and Miss Maya Marfil Smith. Come on up. Maya goes by Mel, but she is representing our cheerleaders. She at the state competition this last year in cheerleading, she was the one representative that got noticed quite a bit for our cheerleading. They did quite an exceptional job this year. So congratulations to some of our all-state students. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you,
Hey,
Mayor.
that's a lot. Thanks so
Thank you,
much. And I
thank
want to thank you so much for what you do for our kids in our community.
Well, thank you for having us over here.
You bet. We're glad to have you. I'd like to invite Chief Murtha to join me at the podium. We've got some important business to conduct. Chief, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor and Council, it is a distinct honor and privilege of mine tonight to present to you our next Wheat Ridge Police Department Division Chief. Exceptional people providing exceptional service. That's the Wheat Ridge Police Department vision statement. I'm going to present to you tonight an exceptional person and an exceptional leader. Early in November, Division Chief Jim Lawrence, after 43 years with the Wheat Ridge Police Department, left for retirement. And we undertook the task of conducting a national search for our next division chief. Our standards, as you know, are very high, and they are unyielding. We won't hire anybody who doesn't meet the standard. Our national search process resulted in dozens of applications for this position from across the United States, Florida, Texas, Chicago, and California, to name a few, as well as many from the region. After narrowing that list down, we were left with 4 candidates who all possessed exceptional, and I mean exceptional, resumes on paper. The experience that they submitted was more than impressive. Our assessment process looked like it was going to provide a real battle of talent. In the end, though, and without much surprise after meeting this impressive candidate, there was one candidate who stood out above all the others. This was based on the assessments of local chiefs of police, community panels, police officers, employees, and persons who we contacted during the background checks. Mr. Sean Ray was the unanimous and without question choice for this position. I'm happy to say that not only does he have the experience, he has the attitude, ethics, and moral compass to serve in Wheat Ridge. As importantly as those qualifications, he's a perfect fit for our culture. He will demonstrate our commitment to compassion with boundaries, a staple in the Wheat Ridge Police Department. It's my honor tonight to swear in Division Chief Ray in front of his community, and after, he will have his badge pinned, I believe by his wife Marion, tonight, as is police tradition. After the brief ceremony, Chief Ray will quickly introduce himself. I think he said it was less than 90 minutes on that introduction. And I hope and I believe that you will see that what we know is coming to Wheat Ridge and what we found, which was another great piece to our team. I also want to thank his family and friends and our police department who've come out to welcome Chief Ray. And with that, I ask you to step forward. If you don't mind standing and facing the audience tonight, if you will. I'll ask you to repeat after me. So please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear upon my honor that I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public's trust. I will always strive to have the courage to hold others and myself accountable for our actions. I will uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and the charter and ordinances of the city of Wheat Ridge. I will strive to be responsive to all citizens of the city and will faithfully perform the duties of Division Chief to the best of my skill and ability. Congratulations. Marion, if you can step forward, and with as little bloodshed as we can make possible.
She might have a guest with her.
Is this Waylon?
This is my grandson.
Welcome. Pretty close. Got it. Congratulations. Sean, if you spend a minute to introduce yourself to the council, the mayor, and the community of Wheat Ridge.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you especially to my family and friends. Have my partner from day one of the academy in 2000, Greg Runge, as a captain at La Mesa PD, made it all the way. And my friends from the FBI National Academy, all the way from the Bay Area and from Monument and from Inglewood. And then my family who traveled far here and has been there. I'll be very, very brief. I retired in June after nearly 25 years with the San Diego Sheriff's Department. I had a tremendous career. I was able to swear my son in and then retire the next day. And thought I was done and started to work in the private sector for a little bit. And I'm a faithful person. And the job announcement for Wheat Ridge Division Chief just popped up. And it popped up once, and then a day went by, and it popped up again. And the tagline said, Wheat Ridge, Colorado, 300 sunny days a year, more than San Diego and Miami Beach. And my wife and I have vacationed several times in Golden, and we really love it, and we're looking for the next chapter. So I threw my name in the hat, and I just got to say, everything from the get, whether it was my first conversation with Katrina, from being flown up here and meeting with the officers and doing the beat orientation, to going through the testing process, to moving here, to now being here a week. It's just felt like home, and it's just felt right. And I am truly humbled and honored to be here in this capacity. And I firmly believe in the chief's vision of relationship-based policing and in that family environment. And it's just the perfect fit. And I couldn't be more honored and happy to be your next division chief. And I look forward to getting to know each of you and working alongside you and for be here for years to come. So thank you, and to everybody who has welcomed me so warmly. I just can't thank you enough, and I can't wait to do some great work together and serve this community the way it needs to be served. So thank you very much.
Always likes to get out of the picture, so we're gonna leave it from up here.
What a group! Well, we know who started the show. My name is Waylon. Okay, everybody. Waylon. Hey, Waylon. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Set change here.
We have one more proclamation there. We do. We're about to figure that out. Forget that. Can we do it? Did I do it? Sorry, I thought I did that first.
We had one other proclamation that I was, a very important one that I didn't want to miss, but this is a proclamation in support of Black History Month, February 2025. Whereas February's Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievement by Black Americans, recognition of their central role in the United States history, and a time to reflect on their continued struggle for racial justice and equality. Whereas experts say understanding Black history and learning more about systemic racism is essential for our country to grow into a nation, as a nation. And whereas Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history, developed Black History Month, Woodson, whose parents were enslaved, was an author, historian, and second Black American to earn a PhD at Harvard University. And whereas Woodson chose February to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass, the famed abolitionist who escaped from slavery, and President Abraham Lincoln, who formally abolished slavery. And whereas, with a resolution passed in 2020, the Wheat Ridge City Council confirmed that racism and hate have no place in our city, and there is much work to be done to stop pervasive, long-standing, and devastating racial injustice in our community. And whereas, in 2021, the city formed the Wheat Ridge Race and Equity Task Force to review city policies, services, and ordinances, and community systems, and identify policies and practices that contribute to discrimination. And whereas, to continue this work, the city created the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility IDEA Committee to advise the City Council on policies and practices to make Wheat Ridge a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wheat Ridge Mayor and the City Council formally designate the month of February 2025 as Black History Month, dated this 27th day of January, 2025. Thank you. That on? We're now at our public's right to speak portion of our agenda. This time, members of the public may come and speak on any item not on the agenda. We have several individuals that have registered to speak, and our first speaker will be Morgan Richards, and on deck will be Megan Schlechtis. I'll get that later. And if you would please introduce yourself, spell your last name, and tell us whether you live or work in Wheat Ridge.
I'm Morgan Richards. Good evening. And I live and work in Wheat Ridge, and I've raised my family here. And thank you, Mayor and City Council. Before I make my ask of you tonight, I want to mark that today is Holocaust Remembrance Day. Today is a powerful reminder of what happens when individuals and communities fail to speak out and to protect people who are vulnerable because of who they are, who they love, what their religion is, or where they were born. I have 4 asks of you this evening. 1, Please continue being a beacon of hope and protect the work we started in 2020 to make our communities safe and welcoming to everyone. It is critical for you to clearly declare that our community stands for inclusion so that we in our community may stand with you in protecting our most vulnerable neighbors. 2, be prepared to protect our Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee. In the future, there could be demands to stop that work and all other work to improve and strengthen our inclusive community. 3, please commit to upholding Colorado state law, which bars local law enforcement from supporting ICE efforts to deport people who are undocumented. Be prepared to back our police department in being faithful to their integrity, as there may be unconstitutional and unlawful demands to do otherwise. Lastly, mayor and council members, please join other local elected officials in pledging to the shared commitment to safe and welcoming Jefferson County communities that has been created by Edgewater Collective. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Megan, and Megan, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name for us. I didn't seem to do a very good job. So.
My last name is Schleicher. It was easier before I got married, but it's okay. Schleicher. And I am a resident here in Wheat Ridge since 2014. And I work throughout the state of Colorado, but including Wheat Ridge. And I am here to support my friend and neighbor, Morgan Richards, this evening in speaking to trying to advocate for our city council to work in support of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the city of Wheat Ridge. I was at a bit of loss for words. I didn't want to just repeat the recommendations from Morgan, so I'm going to paraphrase a bit from a brave and respected religious leader. So I'll go ahead and start that now. As leaders of Wheat Ridge, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our city who are scared now. There are LGBTQ plus people who are Democratic, Republican, and independents. Some are fearing for their lives. And the people who clean our office buildings and hotels, of which our hotels contribute to Wheat Ridge tax base, who labor in factories, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants, and who work the night shifts in our hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one person that has signed up online to speak tonight, and if Heather Dalton is with us online, would you please unmute and introduce yourself? And
yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Sorry to interrupt, and thank you, Council, for hearing our comments this evening. I, too, am in support of Morgan. I am a very proud Wheat Ridge resident, a longtime Jefferson County resident throughout most of my life, and I would also like to clearly request that we continue our work in the city to ensure that Wheat Ridge is a safe space for all, that the IDEA Committee is supported in many ways and can continue to do its great work and the recommendation of the city's Race and Equity Task Force, and commit to upholding state law, which bars local law enforcement from supporting ICE efforts that are illegal, and also to ask local elected officials to join others in committing to Edgewater's collective shared commitment to safe and welcoming Jefferson County communities as well. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you very much. That's all the folks that I have signed up to speak tonight. So with that, we will go to agenda item number 1. Councilor Weaver, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Council Bill Number 01-2025. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws, creating a new Article 14 entitled Mixed Use Lutheran Legacy Campus Zone District and making conforming amendments therewith. At issue, this ordinance creates a new Article 14 of Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws that establishes a new zone district, the Mixed Use Lutheran Legacy Campus, or MULLC Zone District. The zone district regulations establish development standards for the future redevelopment of the former hospital site based on the adopted Lutheran Legacy Campus Master Plan and City Council consensus. Approval of this ordinance will allow for the Lutheran Legacy Campus to be rezoned to the new MULLC Zone District in the future.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Scott Cutler is here this evening, and Lauren Mikulak, our Community Development Director, is on Zoom if you have any questions for her.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cutler.
Thanks, Patrick. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to finally present the regulations that, if approved, will serve as the standards for future redevelopment of the former Lutheran Hospital campus. A new zone district will be created called the Mixed Use Lutheran Legacy Campus, or MULLC Zone District, and contain customized regulations just for development on the campus. These regulations are based on the adopted Lutheran Legacy Campus and City Council consensus from the two previous study sessions last year. These zoning regulations are approved this evening. It will allow for the future rezoning of the Lutheran Legacy Campus to MULLC. These regulations are the culmination of now years of public engagement and research, beginning with the public processes and adoption of the Lutheran Legacy Campus Master Plan in 2021. In May 2024, City Council passed a resolution in support of the city initiating a legislative zone change of the campus based on the approved master plan. Staff brought various iterations of the draft regulations to City Council at study sessions in July and October of 2024, and also to Planning Commission in August and November. An overview of the proposed zoning rules were presented at the City Plan Open House at the Rec Center in September. That also served as the required neighborhood meeting for the legislative zone change. And finally, voters approved ballot question 2C in November by a wide margin, which updated the city's charter to allow for taller building heights in the center of the campus in exchange for shorter buildings on the very edge. Before the meeting tonight, staff also emailed all of those who had signed up for Lutheran campus updates on What's Up Wheat Ridge. 378 total people received notice of this meeting, 285 opened it, and 81 clicked on a link. So it's clear people continue to be engaged. The overall regulations have not changed much since the last study session in October, but for everyone's benefit, including the public's, I will touch on a couple of highlights, but there's no way to cover the whole 50-page ordinance tonight. The intent of the ordinance is to closely follow the recommendations of the master plan, including a variety of housing types and locations, well-connected pedestrian and bicycle networks, and an emphasis on usable public open space. We're proud to be including a requirement for 20% publicly accessible open space, which is unprecedented for this scale of development. This means that a variety of open space types, such as parks, plazas, and trails, will need to be provided throughout the campus and be accessible to everyone, not just residents of the new buildings. The approved charter amendment is reflected in the zoning requirements for building height, with the inclusion of a low-density overlay, lowering building heights to 30 feet from 35 for the first row of development, and including larger setbacks than typical to ensure new homes are set back from existing neighborhoods, and that yards and open space abut existing yards. There will also be some design restrictions within the low-density overlay to ensure a variety of designs and privacy. In exchange, the master plan called for more intensive development in the center of the campus, which will be allowed through increases in building height. Civic and commercial uses are also more appropriate in the center of the campus, and the permitted use chart in the ordinance reflects the heat maps taken from the master plan. Did want to briefly mention the changes we made since council last saw this ordinance in October. Two things were mainly added. A tree preservation requirement was added, which incentivized the preservation of large existing and healthy trees over 4 inches in caliper on the campus, and will require a tree canopy analysis as part of the concept plan application. That was mentioned in the master plan, but really we did not get into that level of detail when we last presented to you in October. And then originally, staff was not proposing to include a minimum square footage requirement for commercial spaces. We were just going to require that it happens. But after a careful market analysis, re-review of the master plan, and additional community comments, we are now including a requirement for a minimum 10,000 square foot of commercial tax generating or neighborhood serving uses to be included within the subdistricts closer to 38th Avenue. So that could include a new building or an existing building converted for retail, restaurant, or personal services. This will ensure that the zoning matches the master plan's vision for an actual mix of uses on the campus and not just a site that only prioritizes residential. Finally, the ordinance does include some conforming amendments to ensure the new regulations can successfully integrate into the existing zoning code. Council approves the MULOC regulations tonight. The next step would be to actually rezone the campus from its current zoning, which is mostly planned hospital district, to the mixed-use Lutheran Legacy Campus Zone District. This will require a public recommendation hearing at Planning Commission, which we anticipate in mid-February, and then a final public hearing at City Council to approve the zoning anticipated in April. And that concludes my presentation. Available for questions, and like Patrick said, Lauren is on Zoom as well. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the time when we invite the public to speak on this. I have no one signed up to speak on this, so we will go to questions from council staff. Councilor Hulteen.
Thank you, Mayor. This was fun to read. It really, we're creating a new neighborhood through this. And I think what made it really enjoyable to read was just reflecting the balance of community engagement and feedback we've gotten on this. And so I just really want to commend staff for doing a good job of bringing all of that together. I do want to ask a couple things without, I have a pretty good understanding of zoning and land use, and it was still kind of a lot to take in. As it's coming together, does this really allow for opportunities for smaller lots? I know that we have the successful ballot initiative, so we're allowing for higher heights within the center of the site. But I'm just curious, like along the outside, not necessarily like facing Dudley, but is there an opportunity for houses on smaller lots?
Yes, definitely. So there's no minimum lot sizes prescribed in the zoning at all. That's unlike our other R-series zone districts that there's a minimum lot size, and typically those are pretty large.
Okay.
The only restriction on lot size would actually be the low density overlay itself. That's the first row of development, and that's really meant to be more compatible with the existing neighborhoods. But within the development, no prescriptive lot size minimums or anything. So a future developer could get really flexible and have some smaller lots, larger lots, whatever they feel matches the market.
Okay, I know we got some questions about that, and I think one of the things we've just heard consistently is Wheat Ridge is a great place, and we have a lot of houses that are on big lots, and a lot of people love them, but we have aging populations struggling keeping up their yards, and we have a lot of different households who don't really have the time or commitment necessarily for yards, so just want to make sure that that's an option. And then my second question is, we've got some things on future agenda that would be impacting our zoning, including looking at like parking requirements and some other things in compliance with the state. How does our process that we're doing that's looking at our overall zoning, how would that coalesce or impact this zoning process for this property,
That's
given
a great
its unique
question.
nature?
Yeah, so we've got a study session scheduled, I believe, mid-March with council to talk about the 2024 state legislation. I think the biggest one that may impact this property and others might actually be the parking regulations related to minimum parking for multi-unit housing. Those, to my knowledge, do not impact single unit or duplex or even townhomes. It's really the apartment style buildings. But the regulations you're reviewing tonight, none of the state 2024 regulations have been incorporated because it's still too early to understand what council wants. We can always go back and amend the code kind of more holistically once we understand council's direction on the state legislation. So, but yeah, nothing's included in here, but it would be easy to change if we needed to.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions from staff? Counselor Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Keller. And just a quick add-on onto that question about the state legislation. So you said we have a future study session coming up in May to review that. It doesn't come into, it doesn't, the state legislation doesn't come in until June, is that right? So we'll be looking at before it gets implemented in June?
That's the intent. So the reason why we scheduled, I believe, do you know the date? It's mid-March. That's trying to get any sort of legislation or ordinances to council before June 30th,
Okay.
2025, which is when a lot of those go into effect. Some, I think, go into effect later, though, so we kind of need to have a compliance timeline, essentially. But we can talk about that more in March.
Super, thank you.
Are there any more questions of council before I close the public hearing and ask for a motion? Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And this made for some very interesting reading. I enjoyed the thoroughness, at least, of being able to take this, and it was written, I thought it was written very well. But on to the interesting part. My first question is, we're creating a new chapter within that category of planning and zoning. We already have subzones for the TOD and one other. Why wouldn't this just be a mixed-use neighborhood subzone?
A few
Or commercial?
reasons. Yeah, that's a good question. So we felt that our existing 4 mixed-use zoning, so there's mixed-use neighborhood, commercial, interstate, and TOD, I believe, are the 4. None of them quite fully met the mark for what was included in the master plan, specifically related to some of the more unique provisions and characteristics of the Lutheran campus. And so we thought it would be a little bit too, I don't know, general for something that's so unique. And so customizing actual regulations around like the low density overlay, we could have never done that within the existing framework. So really applying a new zone district we felt was the best move there.
So then this acknowledges the importance of the master plan in developing this thing and in how it does stand apart from the mixed-use zone districts that we already have established.
Correct, yes. So the format and a lot of the content is still based on the other 4 districts, but highly customized to relate to the master plan, the community vision, and the council consensus.
Okay. And I did have a question, kind of follows up on one of the public comments we got today. It does regard the Dudley Avenue, and the question came up particularly when we talk about the fact that 35th Avenue will end at Dudley. And I thought, well, is there already a right-of-way in place? And there is not, if I read the map correctly. But what I did notice on the city property map is there are on the campus side 8 lots already platted north of 35th and 8 plotted south. They're slightly different size, but each one is roughly 5,000 square feet. Will that be sort of a starting point because these are already platted, or will they have to just be sort of erased and start over?
I guess that would ultimately be up to a developer to decide if they want to keep those lots or not. Those, I believe, were platted back when the hospital was developed. They're actually zoned residential now, and I don't know. They never got developed as homes, so I don't know, to be honest.
So it'll be up to whoever comes in to develop.
Exactly, and those parcels are still part of the rezoning, and the new zoning would apply to them as well.
And do we have, and I may have missed it, but this idea of the depth ratios, 2 to 1, 4 to 1, that kind of thing, is that, did I miss it? Is that something that's included in here, or?
No, we do not get that prescriptive in the zoning regulations. It's really a blank slate for that.
So yeah, it's very apparent that this idea of developing a mixed use, it seems to reflect a lot of the things that have come before. Certainly a lot of the ideas and frankly some of the specs that we see in in Clear Creek Crossing show up in here, which it certainly makes a lot of sense. You don't need to reinvent something when you've already got something in place. As far as questions go, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Weaver.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question about the tree preservation, and it's a question and a statement. So the tree preservation requirement is going to continue on, and I realize that this is zoning and not necessarily prescriptive, but could we also think about, because I'm thinking about the current zoning for adding landscaping, and I've said this before, but I think we have a really unique opportunity in keeping our canopy, but also thinking about how people are planting new trees. And I've said this before, that the trees we plant, while they are trees that could grow to be large canopy trees, we don't typically place them near the streets. We place them too close to the streets so they can never get over 4 inches before they start affecting the streets. So I just think this might be a great opportunity to start thinking about how do we really integrate preserving these trees, but also planning a community with tree canopy 100 years in the future. Does that make sense? Just that integration of what we currently think of as landscaping for new builds, and really just making sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I don't have a great answer for you
That's
on
okay.
citywide stuff.
But that does
yeah,
make sense.
It does.
Yes, okay. I just think it's a great opportunity for us to think about this, since this is both an old neighborhood and going to be a new neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any further questions of staff before I close the public hearing and ask for a motion? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Councilor Weaver, may I have a motion on this item?
You may, Mayor. Thank you. I move to approve Council Bill number 01-2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws, creating a new Article 14 entitled Mixed Use Lutheran Legacy Campus Zone District, and making conforming amendments therewith. On second reading, order it published, and that it take effect immediately.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Ohm. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to give a big shout out to staff. When I first read through this, and there's a lot of meat to this, I think you really covered a lot of detail. You should be really proud of what we have, and I know this has been a long process, and so I definitely support this. Thank you.
Councilor Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And along with the hard work that the staff put into it, I just want to say thank you to our community for coming out, speaking up, telling us what their vision was, having an open mind in understanding that there are some things that we could get done on this large piece of property. This is a unique opportunity for our community, for all the voters that voted to make the change in our charter. Thank you. And I'm super excited, and I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And to repeat what I said earlier, this document recognizes the interests that the community has in this property. The voters approved it. The product that we have here recognizes and finds a balance between the opportunity that this campus represents in terms of development and creating a real civic center for the city of Wheat Ridge, but also respects the neighborhood that's located in. And I would like that. There are a couple of things that I would quibble with, but for the most part, everything in this document recognizes that balance between the opportunity that's presented and respecting our neighbors.
Thank you. Are there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Cutler. Nice presentation. Okay, with that, we'll go to agenda item number 2. Councilor Hoppe, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce Council Bill number 02-2025, an ordinance amending Section 2-53 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning membership of boards and commissions. at issue. This ordinance clarifies that board and commission members who change their personal residence to another council district within the city may continue to be a member representing the district for which they were appointed until the end of the term for which they were appointed.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It will be a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Our Senior Deputy City Clerk, I believe, has a few words to add.
Okay.
Councilwoman Hoppy, I think, explained it pretty well. It's just amending our ordinance so that when council appoints one of the board or commission members within a special, or within one of the districts, when they move out of the district, they still remain on that board until their term is up. And later on the agenda, you'll see that there's also a resolution regarding the boards and commissions and special committees where we simply went in and asked to remove the term dates so that all of the terms end March 2nd for all of our boards and commissions and committees.
Thank you. This is the time when we would ask the public to come and speak on this issue. I have no one from the public signed up to speak, so we will go to questions from council. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to be clear, the requirement that in order to serve on a board or commission in the city of Wheat Ridge, you have to actually live within the city's boundaries.
Correct.
Great. Thank you.
Are there any further questions before I close the public hearing and ask for a motion on this item? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Councilor Hoppy, may I have a motion on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 02-2025, an ordinance amending Section 2-53 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning membership of boards and commissions on second reading, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. With that, we will go to agenda item number 3. Councilor Larson, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Council Bill number 03-2025, an ordinance adopting by reference the 2024 edition of the model traffic code for Colorado, adopting amendments thereto, providing penalties for model traffic code violations, and making conforming amendments to Chapter 13 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws in connection therewith. At issue, the city is required periodically to review the Wheat Ridge Municipal Traffic Code to ensure conformance with the state of Colorado traffic ordinances. The newest version of the model traffic code was adopted by the state of Colorado in 2024. To stay consistent and up to date with the newest Colorado traffic codes and to ensure the citizens of Wheat Ridge are best served by the updated model traffic code, adoption of the newest code is recommended.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Division Chief Eric Kellogg is here this evening. Talk about the major changes to this new model traffic code.
Division Chief Kellogg, welcome.
Good evening. Mayor and council, I appreciate your time tonight. As noted, in early 2024, Colorado installed an updated model traffic code to ensure that the new trends, technologies, and some of these new driving attitudes that we've seen can be most appropriately managed for the safety of all of us. Periodically, municipalities will review their ordinance that adopts the current model traffic code to ensure that their adopted version of the model traffic code comprehensively aligns with Colorado's current model traffic code. This empowers the employees, police, and the courts, and some other entities within those cities to serve and protect those using the roadways at the highest level allowed. I'm here today to discuss the City Council approval of the updated ordinance, adopting the most recent model traffic code by the City of Wheat Ridge to ensure alignment with the state traffic mandates. In a study session that I had with this group on April 8th, 2024, City Council requested that I initiate the the research on what we need to do and how we go about this. This is a fairly lengthy process where we have to take a look at our ordinance. We have to make sure and prep and see how it aligns with the newest model traffic code. And Mr. Dahl and his associates did a ton of work to compare. There were some very minor, I would say minor changes to our ordinance, really quite minor. We've done a pretty good job keeping up with everything over the course of the last decade or so. The research was presented to City Council on December 2nd, 2024 in a study session there. And in reality, the research yielded some of the following information. The first part of it is the financial impact is really, there is no financial impact whether we adopt or don't adopt this. There were 4 areas that they made some changes to the traffic code, the model traffic code. The first were some additional rules surrounding the use of e-bikes. Those areas are that riders must be 18 years of age, and that riders under the age of 18 years must wear a helmet. Individuals under the age of 16 are not allowed to ride the Class 3 e-bikes, which is a throttle-assisted 28-mile. Those bikes can go 28 miles an hour plus, and you may have some additional information on that. So, I'm sorry. Well, it's 28 miles an hour. Am I correct there? Outstanding. Okay. And then Class 3 e-bikes are not allowed on bike paths unless the bike paths are part of a street. And then I think one of the questions that we discussed earlier was local jurisdictions do have authority to put prohibitions in place for the use of the e-bikes on bike or pedestrian paths. That would require an extra ordinance. I think we discussed that. One of the other areas, of course, is the new rules regarding the cell phone usage. The use of handheld cell phones while driving is banned. You have to have the hands-free apparatus to make sure that you're not in violation of that. There were some minor fee changes as it related to some of the chain laws and those types of things. And they continued the tax credits for the electric and the hybrid vehicles. And then lastly, there was language specific to the new vehicle technology and equipment. Specifically, they adopted the different levels of automation for vehicles. There was some minor language changes related to the maintenance and the specifications of commercial motor vehicles. And then, and as it relates to that, it was some of the muffler discussions surrounding the transmission mufflers and those types of things. Really, the changes were rather minimal. I'd say rather benign. But I recommend that we move to adopt the newest model traffic code. And we've done the work to align our ordinance with that. Any questions?
Okay, we will wait just a moment for questions of council. This is when we would invite the public to speak on this item. I have no one signed up to speak, so now we'll go, any questions from council? Okay, for staff on this item. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And for the record, the last time it was updated was?
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you tell me why the section on child restraint has been removed?
So they changed the language. Essentially, it's the same. It's pretty much identical to what it was before, but the language, there were several pieces of the language changed. As you notice, it was several paragraphs long. They were able to reduce it down to just a few paragraphs to identify the same
So
things.
What we're adopting includes the new language on child restraint?
Yes, sir.
Good, okay. And then when you go down, it's page 84 in the packet tonight. We talk about the violations where they kind of lay out what they are, and then the fines. And you've got violations 25 miles over the speed limit or on the interstate, speed contest, reckless driving, careless driving, failure to show compulsory insurance, eluding a police officer, aiding and abetting a traffic offense, failing to stop for a school bus. These are all fairly serious offenses that
Yes, sir.
that deserve to be cited.
Yes, sir.
But I notice in the next paragraph, in section 3 there, notwithstanding any other provision, traffic infractions, the ones that I've just described, the maximum penalty has been increased significantly.
Right, for those 5, because of the severity of, pardon me, because of the severity of those issues and items.
And do you want to, do you happen to know offhand what that number is?
What they've
The
been,
maximum fine going forward?
I don't know off the top of my head, sir.
Okay. For the record, it's, the maximum fine for any one of those infractions is $2,650. And that, you know, these are offenses, these are particularly in offenses that people continue to violate, and they're repeat offenders, that sort of thing.
Right.
But it does allow the judge the discretion of not the full amount, because we're increasing from $1,000 to more than $2,600.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, I think it's a pretty solid document. I agree with the changes that were made there. Nothing other than the things you mentioned, nothing really significant. Put your phone down.
I think it's wise. We go to a lot of accidents associated with being
Distracted.
Distracted.
And that's really what it is.
right, exactly.
Okay. As far as questions go, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor Hulteen.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you clarify on the hands-free requirement if it's a primary or secondary?
It's a primary offense. And one of the things that they put in place in the first year, I'm sorry, in the first 18 months of this, is an opportunity for, I guess I would call it, when I was writing tickets, I would call it a fix-it ticket. So they will give, in this first 18 months, the opportunity, they'll write the ticket, and then what you have to do, or what you're allowed to do, is bring a receipt to the judge on your court date saying and showing that you've purchased hands-free, some kind of hands-free apparatus, or you've installed it in your car, and they'll forgive the ticket. The ticket is actually a rather expensive ticket. It's one of the 5 that Councilman Larson identified.
Right. And so you can pull somebody over for this sole reason that you see them using their cell phone while driving. It's not, you noticed it while they were speeding.
You can pull them over for the primary offense, as a primary offense.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any more questions of council before I close the public hearing and ask for a motion? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Councilor Larson, may I have a motion on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 03-2025, an ordinance adopting by reference the 2024 Model Traffic Code for Colorado, adopting amendments thereto, providing penalties for Model Traffic Code violations, and making conforming amendments to Chapter 13 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws in connection therewith on second reading, and that it takes effect 15 days after final publication as provided by Section 5.1 of the Charter.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 4. Councilor Ohm, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 04-2025, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws to include police recruits as participants in the city's police pension plan. At issue, for the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws, membership in the police pension plan does not currently extend to recruits entering the academy. Recruits are therefore placed in the civilian plan for approximately 6 months, then enrolled in the sworn plan. This is administratively burdensome for staff and challenging for recruits. This ordinance amends the code to allow recruits to enroll immediately into the police pension plan.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Our deputy city manager / photographer this evening will give it.
All right,
But not
well,
clerk
But
today.
not clerk.
We have our clerk today.
Deputy
Thanks
Manager.
so much, Mr. Goff. If I can with council, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, we've been doing quite a lot of work over the course of last year with the Police Pension Board. It's very important work. And there are 2 items on the agenda tonight that relate to the police pension. So the first is this amendment to the code regarding membership of the plan. The code is very specific that only sworn members of the police department, it's defined as a sworn police officer, is part of the police pension. So what happens is that when we recruit recruits, when we bring in recruits that are entering the academy for about 6 months, really, they go into the civilian plan. And then when they graduate and become sworn employees, they set up an account in the sworn plan, but they're not able to move their money over and just close that account because they'll lose out on the city's vesting portion of the first 6 months. So it's administratively burdensome. It's hard for both the employee and for staff. It's easy for mistakes to be made. We had some issues actually where some officers closed the one account entirely and then lost out on vesting, and we went back and made them whole. So our recommendation, and again, we worked with the Police Pension Board on that, is that you approve this change to the code, which will simply put them into the one pension plan from the get-go, and we'll start that with the July recruits, and that'll make life easier. And if it's efficient, Mayor, I can just comment on the second item while I'm speaking about police pension. It's item number 6 on your agenda.
Sure, you could do that.
Okay, thank you. There are 2 items that, again, we've been working with the Police Pension Board that come to you tonight by resolution. And that is some changes to the plan adoption agreement. One is to provide the officers with an additional 0.5% into their pension. It will raise them from 12 to 12.5%. It will be paid for by the release of forfeiture funds that have been amassed by sort of employees leaving the plan. Those can be used to offset employer contributions. So our recommendation to keep pace with neighboring and regional jurisdictions is to continue investing in our sworn pension plan, again, offset by the forfeiture release. And then the second is to lower the normal retirement age of the plan document to age 50. That aligns with IRS guidelines for public safety employees. The real benefit to some officers here is that it lowers then the ability for the age at which they can take advantage of the IRS's super catch-up provision and really save even more a year if they can afford to. So we recommend that we align with that. Again, this is work that we've worked collaboratively with the Police Pension Board. It's been really productive. It was a very productive year for that. And city leadership, we recommend all of these changes. But right, back to the ordinance and the code amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to questions of council, we would invite the public to speak on this item. That no one has signed up to speak. So we'll go to questions from council on this agenda item. Do you have any questions from staff on this before I close the public hearing and ask for a motion? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Councilor O, may I have a motion on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 04-2025, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws to include police recruits as participants in the city's police pension plan on second reading that had take effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Hoppy. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. With that, we will go to agenda item number 5. Councilor Snell, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Be happy to. This is resolution number 06-2025, a resolution amending the bylaws of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee, or the IDEA Committee, and Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee to conform term dates with other boards, commissions, and committees. The issue is this resolution amends the bylaws for the IDEA and Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committees so their term dates conform with other boards, commissions, and committees. The only commission which does not conform is the Election Commission, as its membership terms are set by the Home Rule Charter.
Thank you. This will be a resolution of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
Nothing beyond what our deputy city clerk mentioned earlier.
Okay. This is when we would invite the public to speak on this item. No members of the public have signed up to speak, so I'll go to questions of council, and we'll go to Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And just a quick question. It was the reason that the dates don't align, was this an oversight, or was it sort of intentional but not intentional?
Well, I'm not sure why. I think it was just an oversight. But the fact that these are committees rather than boards and commissions, they kind of had the different rule than we did. So we changed it so that we could have them uniform across all three boards, commissions, and committees.
Well, it certainly makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on this item before we ask for a motion? Hearing none, Councilor Snell, may I have a motion on this item?
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 06-2025, a resolution amending the bylaws of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee, the IDEA Committee, and Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee to conform term dates with other boards, commissions, and committees.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Councilwoman Hulteen. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Hulteen.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I know the boards and commissions cleanup has come back in front of us a couple of times, but I'm really grateful that we're giving this the attention, in part because the city puts a lot of effort into recruiting people. And so by having all of our committees and boards and commissions in alignment, it really allows us to do more robust outreach and recruitment. So I know we've seen this come in front of us, but I'm grateful we're trying to do it right, and it's been good work. So I'm excited to support this.
Thank you. Councilor Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just want to also say, we've been working on cleaning up our boards and commissions and committees for about 2 years now. And it shows, because when we look at the new applicants that we have coming forward on our committees, we have a record year of people applying to serve our city. And a lot of that has to do with us getting our stuff cleaned up and organized.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. This will bring us to agenda item number 6. Mayor Pro Tem Stites, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 07-2025, a resolution approving the amendment and restatement of the City of Wheat Ridge Police Pension Fund Plan Adoption Agreement. At issue, the city provides a 401A retirement benefit to sworn and civilian employees. This resolution proposes 2 changes to the sworn pension plan. First, it increases the city's contribution by 0.5% to 12.5%. Second, it reduces the normal retirement age for sworn employees from 55 to 50 years old, the IRS minimum for public safety employees.
Thank you. This will be a resolution of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, we've already had a presentation by the deputy city manager. Is there any further clarifications you'd like to make?
There's not, but we're here for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you so much. We would invite the public to speak on this item at this time. No one has signed up to speak, so I will go to questions from council on agenda item number 6. Seeing none, Mayor Pro Tem Stites, may I have a motion on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 07-2025, a resolution approving the amendment and restatement of the City of Wheat Ridge Police Pension Fund Plan Adoption Agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Hoppy. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes our action items on tonight's agenda. Our next item would be City Manager's Matters. Mr. Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. It was exciting and fun to see all the students here this evening. I want to thank Council Member Hoppy. She does most of the work to make sure that happens. So thank you very much. It's a great way to start out a council meeting. And speaking of our students in our schools, I had a meeting this afternoon with the principal of Wheat Ridge High School. And a lot of great things going on at our high school. I got a tour of all the improvements that were made by the district, and they look great. There's some new things coming. I was told that our graduation rates just came out, and we've increased 3 points to 86%, I think, which is really high for a graduation rate. The principal has a goal of 100% over her next 5 years. So that's awesome. And she also told me that we have 110 students choicing into Wheat Ridge High School, which I thought was a great number to see instead of all those kids choicing out of Wheat Ridge. We did have a conversation as well as about the STEM program. You remember several weeks ago, we had numerous speakers come here to ask council to do anything we could to help save the STEM program. I was assured that the STEM program is not going away, and it's going to probably even be better than it has been. They're putting improvements into it. It's supported all the way up to the district leadership. And the principal understands the importance of that program, and it's not going to change with a new STEM instructor. So happy to hear that. You should have had on your seat at your dais the agenda packet for our retreat this weekend. So excited to see you all then. If you have any questions beforehand, please reach out and let us know. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you very much. City Attorney's Matters, Mr. Dahl.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll go to Elected Officials Matters. Let's start with Councilor Hulteen.
Thank you. So I want to, what a fun room tonight. It was just all the energy, and I just really appreciate Councilmember Hoppy's efforts to engage our citizens here in City Hall. I just think if I was that age and I'd had a chance to come to City Hall, it would have had a big impact on me. So just, I think it bodes well today and tomorrow for our community. And we have impressive kids doing amazing things. Then I also want to speak, I just appreciate the other members of our community who came in tonight to express care and concern and commitment to our community right now who, we're experiencing a lot of big news coming through our news feeds about a lot of different things happening from the national level. And sometimes it's not always clear how national events trickle down into our closest thing to true democracy, which is our local government in our backyard. And I just want to personally say that to me, we've been elected by our neighbors, and we are doing good work in Wheat Ridge, and we're going to continue to do the good work. And we have listened to our community and taken real and meaningful action to recognize that we can do better, and we do better by listening. We've been recognized nationally for how good we are at listening to our community, and we can do better. But I want to double down on my commitment to stay the course, to listen to our community, to keep our politics local. And I think we do an outstanding job here. And I appreciate people who come into this sacred space to share our diversity of opinions. It's the only way we can govern. But I'm just really proud to be part of Wheat Ridge, and that we do a good job here, and that we stay the course on the good work, and especially any concerns we have about work that our community is doing through their service on boards, commissions, the IDEA committee, sustainability committee. You know what? They're showing up and doing good work, and we'll keep doing it tomorrow. So that's all I have today. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I agree, it was a great night, lots of good energy. It's always nice to pull into the parking lot and not be able to find a space easily. That's great. I also, too, would like to just speak a little bit about some of our community members that spoke this evening, whether it was here in City Hall or whether folks emailed us specifically about our IDEA committee and our commitment to inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. I'm so thankful and grateful that our council has adopted the resolution against racism and hate, which was the impetus for our Race and Equity Task Force. Of course, we know lots of great work was done by that task force, and it sort of kicked off the IDEA committee, and our IDEA committee is fantastic. And we are still, we've had a few meetings. We've got some really, really fantastic folks on the IDEA committee. And I'm so impressed by them already. And I know that we're going to do a lot of good work together. There is a lot of work still to do. I'm also sincerely committed to this work. While there's uncertainty at a national level, I feel fortunate to be part of this work in our community, and I'm beholden to our residents, and I'm very, very lucky and fortunate to be that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Counselor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And first off, I'd like to recognize the birthday today for Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. If you're a fan, as I am, of the Symphony Number 41, that's the Jupiter one, it's about 20 minutes of just perfect music. The other thing, and this is as a motorist driving on Kipling, I know that 38th Avenue is blocked off for temporary while they're doing some important infrastructure work there. But, and I understand Wadsworth is under the jurisdiction of CDOT, but would somebody tell them to fix the timing on the turn signal, the left turn signal going south on Kipling, because it lets 2 cars go through. And today that the left turn lane was backed all the way up. I saw some people in frustration making illegal U-turns. It's dangerous, and it's now as a member of the council, I would request that somebody contact CDOT and fix the timing on that light.
Can you repeat, which light was that again? Kipling?
Kipling, southbound on Kipling at 38th.
38th, Kipling, yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Rome.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would add to that request that I wish it was a signal where it's a left turn only, because the issue is that it stays green and people unfortunately take a left turn and there's a T-bone. I see usually one or two a month. It's an issue of that light that they take a lot of turns. I got a couple questions. First, I want to thank my constituents and people attending tonight. It's always great to see comments, and sometimes I don't thank those people for taking the time to write, paragraphs of their thoughts and ideas, and I do appreciate that, and I do read through that. Thank you. One question I wanted to ask Chief Murtha is, do you have a status on the speed camera, the one that's the mobile and the one that was supposed to be permanently mounted? Are those in?
So the mobile handheld, what we call the Dragon camera, is in the region. We haven't taken possession of it yet, but it's here, and we're just waiting for the local vendor to come out and show us how to use it. Then we start the time clock on the warning citations versus the regular citations. So it's been a process. It's still an ongoing process. And then the other for the fixed cameras, we need permitting, and we need power supply permit to get the power supply to that as well for that one, and then the mobile trailer. All of these items have been ordered. They're all in the state of Colorado, I believe. We're just waiting to take possession. Part of that is just getting the training for our folks to use these things before we put them in the office and they start taking them out to play around with them. So I know one of our traffic folks is in the back there. They're very anxious to get started on it, and so are we. But we just want to be thoughtful about how we handle this, and we're almost there.
Thank you. And then on the Wadsworth 38th closure, is there a pedestrian, Patrick, do you know if there's going to be a pedestrian access still? Because that's going to be like a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it could be up to 3 weeks. We're open. If the weather stays, it could get done quicker, but
yeah.
I believe it's required that they maintain pedestrian mobility, but I'll double check.
Okay. And then I did another thing I wanted to shout out to the police. I think we're really lucky. A lot of times I turn on the TV and I see other municipalities with their police departments, and it's not good. I turned on the TV and I'm never worried, Chief Murtha. It was good news. It was the police helping. If everybody saw that article about an elderly woman that she was getting robbed by some people, and the police caught him, thankfully, and I was proud. Yeah, did good. And then I want to give a big thank you to. There's a lot of parents that are getting together right now that are working the after hours for the after prom party. Big thank you to everybody that's doing that. I think that's great that the parents are trying to get involved and looking out for the kids so they have a good, safe time. So thank you. That's all I got.
Good. Okay, thank you. Counselor Weaver. He did.
Thank you. I just want to thank all the people from Wheat Ridge I saw at the stock show. It was really fun to run into people and find other volunteers that are also coming from Wheat Ridge. So if anybody's interested in helping out with next year's stock show, please contact me. It was a great show, a bunch of record days of attendance, and if you've never been, please come out next year or ask me about it. It's a really fascinating look at both sort of old Western traditions as well as the international business of stock animals, and it was really interesting. Just little side note. Colorado produces as much beef as like the entire country of Mexico. And so it was just fascinating to meet people from all over the world who come in to the show, not for the rodeo and but just to do business with Colorado as a state. And it's just fascinating. So anyway, thanks for everybody who came out.
We've got a little bit of stock show weather.
Oh, yeah. Well, we always do.
We always do. All right. Thank you. Councilor Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you again to all the families and the students that came out and for all the hard work that you're putting into your activities and your athletics and your music and your academics. And, you know, Principal Mahana, if she's trying to get up to 100% in 5 years, she's a pretty dynamic person. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet her, I would encourage you to go meet her. And so if anyone was going to get us up to 100% or right close to it, I think she'd be the one to get us there. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Stites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, it was absolutely cool to see all the farmers in here tonight, and that tradition of excellence continues on at the farm, and that's pretty awesome. Councilor Larson and I had the opportunity to go a couple weeks ago to the listening session that they had at Wheat Ridge High School for the STEM program, and Principal Mahana really does do a phenomenal job at hearing her community there and trying to make sure that she recognizes the concerns and the tradition that they have in that STEM program and building for the future. So I'm pretty excited for what they're going to come up with. I think they're going to do a fantastic job. I also want to thank everybody who has either wrote in or came to speak tonight. I think your council definitely hears you, and I think we're going to continue to support our community, our entire community, and not leave anybody out in that. Our included in that is our business community, and making sure that we do have that construction on Wadsworth still, and we hear from businesses all the time that that's hurting their bottom line and their ability to do business. So if you can get out, support those people, and make sure that we can support those businesses and keep them open through the next couple of months of construction. And if you can find it and buy it at Wheat Ridge. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Stites. I want to thank Athletic Director Campbell for bringing in student athletes, musicians, and really talented young people. It's really great to see these folks come in, and I'll tell you, it gives us a great look at the future, and I think that's a very bright future. I want to thank all the speakers who have came tonight and talked and written and expressed their concerns about council and our city supporting the members that live in our community. And I want to tell you that we are embracing the people that live in our community, and we have a great community here, and we are going to gather together and really support the members of our community. I want to thank and congratulate the Division Chief Sean Ray, and as a new hire in our police department, we're really excited to have him on the force. We've got the best force in the state of Colorado, thanks to our chief and all the officers and folks in the department, and we're really excited to have Division Chief Ray here. To continue what Mayor Pro Tem Stites said, we've had concerns from our business community about traffic stopping on the intersection of 38th and Wadsworth, and the impact it has on our businesses, and that's a concerning situation. We've got our city Public Works Department working with the contractor to provide alternate signage for alternate methods to try to get around the traffic stoppage there at that intersection. We will continue to do that. We will work with the contractor to see if we can expedite his work in that neighborhood so we can get that project done, get it open, and get back to work. So thank you very much. And I want to lastly say that if you've been following our meeting tonight, we adopted a new model traffic code. I'm not sure that's going to do all of the things that we want to do to make folks want to drive slowly and carefully through our community, but we hope you will, because we want everyone to be able to come home every night just the way that everyone wants to get home, and that's safely and securely. We really appreciate your efforts in driving slowly and safely through our city. So if there are no more items to come before our council, we will be back here 1 week from tonight in a study session, right? Yeah, we're back. So if there's no more business to come before us, we will stand adjourned and go home safely. Thank you.